player happiness is really important in Football Manager. Now, most of us don't really like to think about it too much. We get frustrated with it. We don't like the happiness system. We don't like the morale system. Some people want to turn it off completely. But the truth is that it really is important and it makes a huge difference. Now, I want to show you one little, not so much a trick, but a screen you can look at to figure out how your player happiness is going that most people don't talk a lot about. You head over here to Dynamics. Now, note that I'm using a certain skin here, which kind of changes up my side menus. You can see, click over on Dynamics, and you can see, of course, all of the issues on the club. You can see we have a whole bunch of issues. I think a lot of people are probably having a bunch of issues because you get problems like guys who want to start more games and guys who are upset that they are no longer star players or whatever, right? They're going back to regular starter or something like that. I mean, this happens a lot. This is just part of the game. When you go to the screen, you can see things that we all know about, like your hierarchy, the social groups. There's lots of fun you can have with this, lots of memes and all this stuff. But one of the things that a lot of us don't look at a lot is this happiness screen. Right. So this happiness screen is actually pretty important because when you look at this, you can sort of see how your players are feeling about you as a manager and about their playing time and also about whatever else it might be that might be bothering them. So there are some players here who are becoming somewhat dissatisfied with management, for example, and we can just hover our mouse above this to see what they think and why. Now, you can see for a lot of this, there's sort of nothing to read, right? There are no negatives, no real notes on this, which may or may not be a bug. I don't know exactly what the internal workings of the game are. But in some cases, you can see where the problem is. So Fanshang, for example, who is our team captain, is upset because he feels that our squad is lacking depth and goal. They've been upset about this actually for a while, and the truth is that our squad does lack depth and goal. It's absolutely valid for these players to be concerned about this. Our number one goalie, Hoyu, is probably not good enough to play at this level, and as a result, I have spent a lot of time looking around for different goalies and other things I can do to try to help stem the tide of this potential unhappiness. You can also see concerns with things like playing time, right? So there are some people who are upset about their playing time, and in some cases, we can just take a quick look at this and see, okay, who's upset about their playing time, who wants to start more games. You can see Park Myung-sung, who is actually one of our stars and one of our main starters, really wants to start more games, right? It is kind of a problem, and it is an issue here in Football Manager, right? I'll have you take a quick look here at our schedule. You can see, especially, let's go past the friendlies, when we start getting down to where we're having games, we had about 2 games a week for, 1, 2, 3, 4 months. And now we are going down to about 1 game a week here at the end of the season. So a lot of the reason why these guys are not starting every match that they think that they're star players is not because I'm not trying to rotate well or start them enough games or whatever, but rather it's because it's not physically possible for them to do so. They might be able to understand that, they might not. And as always, that could be a window into the professional level of your player. Professionalism is a real big thing in this game, and if your players have poor professionalism, you're going to see them get really upset at you for things that are kind of stupid that you can't really fix. Anyway, so that's something you can look at and see in terms of playing time. If you want to be very, very careful about this, you probably should look closely and see, okay, who's really unhappy about their own playing time, and what is it that we can do about this. Pietro Rovaglia, for example, came in thinking he was going to be a star player. He's upset that he's not, and in the end, that does have an effect on his morale. You can also see things like how happy are they with training, how unhappy are they with training. I'm going to tell you a little trick about training. The truth of the matter is that when people are upset with high volumes of strength training or high volumes of like whatever other kind of training it is, unless you have them on an individual training regime, the actual truth is that this probably, again, is a reflection of the player's professionalism more than anything else. You get a lot of players who have low levels of professionalism, bad personalities, who end up being upset about training or who don't try at all in training, where the thing comes out and you got to scold players for not training well and praise those that do train well. Yeah, your guys who are not training well, who are then fighting with you about it, those are guys you probably should think about moving on, because it's a sign that they don't have a good personality. They don't want to try. They're not professional about what they're doing, or they don't have the right level of ambition, right? So pay attention to that as well, and you can learn more about your players based upon things like that. Now, I wanted to put a little bit of a highlight here on Huangbuan, who's really upset. He's upset because he's worried that Kim Jong-il would take his spot in the team. And because of that, he's very unhappy with that. And he's also unhappy with the way that I've treated him. Now, that's sort of a ridiculous thing to think. I mean, when we go over and we look at who is starting the most games on the team, you can see that Huangbuan here started 13 games for the team. He started more games than Kim Jong-il has, 13 to 11. He's also scored quite a few more goals and has a better average rating. The reason why Huangbuan has not started more games for us is because he was out with the flu for 12 days and we had to send him home. I mean, so it's not my fault that he hasn't started in every single game. I've made a point of starting him in more games because I think he's a very good player for our team. He's 22 years old. When we take a quick look at his coach report, he has a lot of things that I love. He loves big matches. He's very, very consistent. Personality is not great, which is where I think these problems are coming from. But he's also a good Super League player who could still improve, right? And when I'm looking at a team that wants to play eventually in the Super League and maybe even get into European competition, which is kind of the weird thing about the save, right? The save is set up so that we could have a road into Europe if we go to the China Super League and we win it. For a team like this, I want to have our team focused around players like Huangbuan, who are young and who have good skills and good talents and who can score goals, right? The problem, though, that we have with Huangbuan is that he is clearly lacking in that professionalism, right? The thing that he's upset about and the thing that makes him unhappy just so happens to be something that I can't control, right? I could go sell that player, but he would still be upset. He's unhappy because of the way that I'm treating him, right? Let's see if we can figure this out here. Yeah, he's dissatisfied with my treatment of him. For what reason? I mean, just because I bought another player so we could win? It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, when you play Football Manager, you're going to have more and more players like this, and you're going to have to figure out a way to deal with them and figure out, what you want to do when you have players who have morale that is not great for whatever reason. He wants to play more games or whatever. I mean, you have to figure out, okay, well, what are we going to do with Aiden Quinn? I can't start him in more games because he was upset that he wasn't fitting into the area. And as one does, to fit into the area, he decided to go back to Scotland for a month. I mean, which is also kind of ridiculous. So I don't know. We'll see where this winds up. Here's my personal favorite, Lee Jin-young, who is also a little bit upset, and he's upset because it's hard to settle into the area, right? And when we take a look at him, I've been starting him in the games in which he's been healthy, but again, he had a major injury. He broke his ribs trying to make a tackle against Jiangsu FC and was out for 2 months. Right, so it's kind of hard for him to necessarily get all the playing time that he probably deserves, and that naturally will make it a little bit tricky for him to settle into the area. Anyway, as I was saying, when you look here at this happiness screen, you can see problems. You can try to head off problems before they come up. This is a great way to get to know your players and get to know the team and get to know sort of the story that's going on behind the scenes. This can also be a huge help to you when it comes to figuring out who you want to keep on your team when transfer season comes along and who you want to get rid of. You want to pay attention to things like, is my team leader upset with me over something? Is one of these influential players really upset? Huangbuan's influential. Is he really upset over something? Is there something I can do about it? Or is he just being stupid? And if he's just being stupid, and if, a deal comes along for him, if, what's his value? 9 million renminbi, that's not much. But if a big team comes along and says, we'll give you like 50 million renminbi for him, I might think, well, sure, I'll sell him. We have more than enough good players here in the development center. We'll go find somebody else to go take his place, right? We go pull up Max McMillan or someone like that, have them be the star striker, or Ru Kang-guk or somebody like that, have them come up and be our star striker and take over the Huangbuan spot. And then maybe we have somebody with a little more professionalism who's going to treat the opportunity the way that he should instead of acting like a dope the whole time. Anyway, just a few ideas there on how you can use the happiness page to your advantage. I strongly recommend doing it, even though it does mean maybe slowing your game down a little bit. As always, if you let Football Manager tell a story to you, and if you start working with the players you're given, you're going to have a better time playing the game. It's a lot more fun to do it this way, in my opinion, than it is to autoplay through every match and to try to do this so-called tactic testing thing and all this stuff where we're going to holiday through a whole season or 2 or 3. It's a lot more fun to get to know the actual players and to interact with them. Just my opinion. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.